Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to once again another day with us here on Wealth Wednesday, Generational Wealth. I'm going to cover a lot of information today. Today is going to be more or less about what we've done. I'm breaking it up into four quarters. Okay. So today we're going to talk about what we've done so far. What is the whole purpose of this whole generational wealth thing, and where are we at in reference to where we want to go as a group, as a people, as an organization, even as a community. As I begin to think about the past couple of weeks and what we've done here, I think we've had some great input, some great feedback. People are excited about learning about generational wealth, contrary to what everybody have said in the past, to where we can't work together, we can't stick together, we can't do any business together. There's no money in our community, and that's really not true. Wealth starts in the mind, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And we're going to talk about some issues that's going on in our community that we can talk about. We've covered a whole lot of things. From the first week we opened up, we've having an outpour of people who have reached out and said, not only are we on the right track, they've given me suggestions on how we could improve it. Even talked about different topics that, we're going to get to. We're going to start a whole series next week. Okay. And this next week, we're going to really dive into what is some of the things that we can do as a community to talk about generational wealth. And the first thing we're going to talk about is going to be a three-part series, or it might be a four-part series. And the first thing we're going to talk about is, what does the Black woman bring to generational wealth? That's very important. What does the woman bring to generational wealth? The second thing we're going to talk about is, what does the man bring to generational wealth? That is important also, because so many times we're torn between our parents, single parents, and parents who have a household together. We have blended families nowadays. How do we bring that all together to talk about generational wealth, to pass down something to the next generation and the next generation? And I think that it starts with the family, the husband and the wife, the male and the female. Those are the center cornerstones of generational wealth. So we're going to talk about, starting next week, we're going to talk about families. We're going to talk about, what does the woman, we're going to have a whole section of talking about, what does the woman bring to generational wealth? What role does she play? And I think that she plays a vital role. As I begin to think about some of the great women that have poured into me as a young man, and still pouring into me as an older man, and still pouring into me as I begin to have grandkids. I'm thinking of my grandmother, who's 92 years old, and the impact that she's had on my life. And I'm often thinking of my aunts, that we had a community that raised one son, which was my mother's oldest son. And I'm thinking of my aunts and how they gathered together to make sure that I had all the tools that I needed to be the man who I am today. And I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for them. And then I'm thinking about my uncles, who were my role models, and my grandfather, who was my role model, who was an alcoholic, but he had an uncanny way to letting me know that I was more than what people thought of me. And he gave me that confidence that no matter what, I can always bet on myself. And then I thought about my spiritual backing, my spiritual fathers, who have imported so much into me and made me who I am today also. And the man, and we have a lot of us men who are in prison, who are incarcerated, who are defeated before we even get started, who even don't even feel like we have an opportunity to even express ourselves. And I know we have a lot of women movements and a lot of those things, and I agree with, we need those things, but the man is the center and the cornerstone of a home. And a lot of times we don't get that ability to be men. And so we're going to address that. We're more than just a sex toy, or we're more than just a paycheck, or we're more than just um, human beings that the only thing that we're measured by is how successful, what type of car we're driving, or what type of house we have, or what can we do for her? What can you do for me? You ain't got nothing going on. So all of those things taken in consideration, we want to talk about the male, and we're going to dive deep into that also. And then one of the things that we often don't ever consider part of generational wealth is the children. What role does the children play into it? I'm often thought of the prodigal son, and the prodigal son left, and from for those who are biblical scholars, this is a biblical principle, a biblical story. I'm often thought of the prodigal son who left his father's house and went and squandered everything he had. But he had enough common sense when he was in the hog pen to look up and saw that his father was still there and he still had more to offer him. And he went back to his father's house very humbly. And he really just got down on his knees and said, I'm sorry. And he just wanted a little bit of what his father had. But he had went and squandered everything. But his father had given him his due right. And his father didn't throw it in his face, but he came back and he gave him a ring and he gave him a robe and he told him that everything would be all right. And he had a feast for him. So when our children begin to come back home, do we have a feast for them? Do we have more than what they had than when they left? Our children want to come back home. They want to have something that's bigger and better than what their parents had. And we have people in our community that we have fathered and we have nurtured that is striving to do better, and they want to come back home. But the question becomes, what do we have to offer them? So we're going to talk about the children that want to come back home and what does the children has to play in it. And we're going to break that up in a 3 to 4 part series. And we're going to talk about how those things can help us get to generational wealth. It's more than just about money. As I began to talk to individuals about the program and talking to individuals about the show, some of the people have came to me and gave me some good advice. But I heard some disturbing news about what wealth is. A lot of people consider wealth, it's almost like the Michael Jordan syndrome. And what I consider that is everybody want to be like Mike, right? We live in a consumer society. Everybody wants the best. I want the best for my children. But there is a price that you have to pay if you're going to receive the best. And everybody wants to get a faster way to get to success. And I began to talk to an individual and I asked him, I said, what do you define success as? He said, success is, having the car and having the house and having the woman that you want. And as I began to thought, I began to meditate on that. And I was like, those are all forms of success, where you have and what you've accomplished in life. And everybody wants to accomplish anything. And I began to ask the young lady, what is success? And what do you look for in success? She said, well, I need a man who's going to take care of me. That's success. I need a man who's going to do this. And I consider me a success when I'm able to have my degree and have the house that I want and have everything that my heart desires. And I was like, well, okay, cool. And I didn't debate it. I was more fact finding. And I began to think that success starts in the mind. Generational wealth starts in the mind. We got to begin to understand that it's no longer me, my four, and no more. We have to get out there and start believing in each other again. I know that it's very difficult when you have laced up your own bootstraps, went to school and graduated and worked a job and got up early in the morning, and you want people to be held accountable. And that's all right. But what happened when those who have been less fortunate than you? What happened to those who didn't have the opportunity that you had? And I know that there will be those that says that everybody has had the opportunity. Everybody has had an opportunity. Don't give me that. They're just lazy. Really? What happened if somebody did not pour into you? What happens when that happens? And I think that what we have had is a lot of our community have not poured into one another, and we've had that gap there. And so, what we want to do is try to repair the gap and make sure that we're doing the things that we can do to help out that next generation. We want to make sure that we're doing everything, we're not leaving nothing in the gas tank when it comes to our children, when it comes to somebody else's children, and when it comes to our community. Today, we're going to talk about a major problem in our community. And I'm just going to highlight this one thing to let us know that we're on the right path. For those who have not watched our show, I've had great speakers on, and I'm going to flash them up today because we need to be able to celebrate them. We need to be able to utilize them. We need to be able to keep using them because they are a big part of where we're going to be. Mad Capital is a company that I created it was for my children. And what we're going to do here at Mad Capital, Mariah, Ariel, and Dominic are my three children. What we're going to do is create an environment to where people can have a safe place to come and invest. They can have a safe place to come and learn and ask questions. We're going to start a non-for-profit. It's going to be called the Hayes, Virgie, and Ruby Frederick Foundation, which is going to be geared towards financial literacy for kids and adults. And then we're going to create the Celeste Foundation, which is my previous wife, and she was very passionate about giving back to the community. And how are we going to fund this? And I ran this by some of the people, and they said, well, I don't have the money to fund that type of thing. And I was like, well, I didn't ask you to fund it. I just asked you to be a part of it. So how we're going to fund it is very simple. From the profits that we make from helping people buy and sell homes to help generational wealth, that's how we're going to fund our program. We have to start believing in ourselves. And it was even more clear. If you followed me on this weekend, I was at a facility, which was Martin University, which is a historically Black college here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we went out there to support, and I give a shout out to Supreme Tax Services, Marquita, great dynamic financial lady. Not only did she come out and support, she came out and participated. We got to start to give shouts out. Not only did Marquita come out and support, me and Marquita have made a commitment, and me and her have combined companies and combined office space and everything. So it's going to be a one-stop shop. If you are looking to start a company, if you're looking to learn how to buy a house, learn how to buy and sell real estate, any type of financing that you need, you're going to be able to get right here at Mad Capital, a one-stop shop. If you have a son or a daughter that is looking to enhance or looking to learn a trade or looking to become financially wealthy or financially secure, you need to inbox me and let me know who your kid is. Simple telephone number, I can reach them, and we're going to turn them over to Megan. Megan has done a great job. If you watch the first show that we have, Megan makes about $100,000 a year. Her kids make about $10,000 a month. She makes about $100,000 a month. Her kids make about $10,000 a month. And she is doing a phenomenal job with teaching our kids network marketing, and they're learning about cryptocurrency and Bitcoins, Forex trading, I'm sorry. If you have not reached out to her, what are you waiting on? If that's not your cup of tea, we all know during the pandemic, a lot of people have passed away. And you need to prepare for the death. Even if you're not dying, you need to prepare for it. One day you're going to leave this earth. And we want to start to leave something for our kids that we can cling on to. And we had Norton Services. Jennifer, she came in and talked to us and taught us how to have an estate plan for when we get ready to leave this earth. Jennifer did on this show. Well, that might not be your cup of tea either. You might be saying, hey, Cepeda, you're talking about something that don't involve me, had nothing to do with me. I don't care nothing about that. Well, what about your health? Well, we have somebody on here to talk about that also. Sharita Lacey. She talked about how we should have better eating habits. She talked about what some of the foods that we need to stay away from. And she talked about how we can increase our lifespan if we start to have the proper diets. These are all things that we can pass down from one generation to another. Now, we also have somebody on here that talked about money. If you are wondering why am I always not talking about money? Too many times we've always focused in on the money and we haven't found out how do we get to the money, or let me put it in today's terms, how can we get to the bag? Okay, so let's talk about it. We had a banker on here and he told you how much if you invested, how much he can give you back, and he told you out of his own mouth that particular bank had did redlining. That particular bank had did redlining. And because they had a redlining suit against him, and what redlining is that they didn't lend in our community. Yep, I said it. The cavalry ain't coming, the creek done rose, and the levee that's giving way. It's up to us to save us. And he said that this particular bank had to open up a shop right in the middle of our community, betting on that we would not use it. That's what he said. Okay, think about what he said. Bank got sued because they didn't lend in our community. They have to put a bank in our community, and they have to lend to us. But we can have all type of synopsis and all type of meetings about where's the money at? We need to get to the money, and we need to get involved in the community to get to the money. And there's a bank right there in our community. He's a manager at the bank, and he said his job is to lend to us. And we ask ourselves, why aren't we using it? And you know what? That's just not in here in Indianapolis. And we're going to expand this, not to just here in Indianapolis. We're going to expand this all around the United States. In every community, there have been banks that have got caught redlining, and they have to give money in our community. But if we don't utilize it, or if we don't qualify, if we don't file our taxes, we are not going to have access to that capital. There is no free lunch, ladies and gentlemen. The cavalry is not coming. The creek has rose and the levee has given way. There is no free lunch. The only thing we have in our favor is one another, and we have to begin to utilize what we have in our community. We have great resources in our community. There are people that are fighting that come in and rob us of our community, but we can't do nothing about it because a lot of times we're not credit worthy. We're not in the ability to take advantage of those opportunities, but we're going to change that. We're not going to make no more excuses. We're not going to ask for help no more. We're going to bet on ourselves. That's what we're going to do starting today. We're going to bet on ourselves. And we're going to make sure that the people that we come into contact with is going to be successful going forward. This is going to be a show to where we're going to talk about the real issues. We're not going to beg nobody to help us anymore. We're not going to do that no more. We're not going to try to have a committee meeting. We all meet it out. What we're going to do is pull up our bootstraps, look each other in the face and say, hey, listen, we have resources that we can use, and we're going to start right where we're at, and we're going to bet on ourselves, and we're going to make it happen for ourselves. We're going to get our credit straight. We're going to help our own people start our own businesses. We're not going outside of our community. We're going to invest in our community. We're going to support one another. We're going to make this going to be a platform to where people can come and learn about money. Because I believe that the economic situation that's going on in our community is directly related to the high crime and death rate in our community. If you're tired of begging for somebody to give you a handout, and if you believe in yourself enough, get involved, get people involved in what we're doing. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And what does it mean to our community? Well, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start the point of educating our own people. That's the first thing we got to do. We got to educate our people on finances and money and budgeting and where is the money at and how do we get it? We're going to create capitalists in our community. What do that mean? We're going to create people in our community that is all about the money. We got to have those type of individuals in our community. We're going to hold people accountable, businesses accountable, me accountable, you accountable for what goes on in our community. We're going to hold our news accountable because that's important, because what they tell us, we sometimes believe everything that we see is not really true. And we're going to learn that tonight. I'm going to break this up into 2 sections today. Then the third thing we're going to do, we're going to participate in our community. We're going to find businesses that are doing it, and we're going to support them and make sure that they keep doing it, making sure that their doors stay open. Make sure that they become millionaires and billionaires so that we can say that we're proud of what we created in our own community. You might be saying, Cepeda, that's not even important. I need to get my own business. I'm going to help you do that too. But we're going to see why it's so important, why we must invest into our own community. It's going to be clear. I'm going to bring out an article today that was in the Indianapolis Star. And the way we deal with our community and the way that other people see our community. We're going to talk about it. Then I'm going to bring it up. You might be saying, hey, that's just an Indianapolis thing. Nope. It was done on a national level also in the Wall Street Journal. Same thing, bigger platform. Then we're going to come up and we're going to talk about a solution, because I don't want to just talk about the problem. I want to talk about the solution. And then I'm going to give us some basic instructions on what we can do. Because starting next week, this is the first quarter, and I begin to evaluate what we're doing and how we're doing it and how we can make it better. I don't want this just to be a platform where you guys are coming on here just a social event. I don't want to do that. I want to make this a platform to where people's lives are changed when they come into this Facebook Live. I want to be a situation to where when you see the businesses on this show, this will catapult them into the next stratosphere financially. And they will be able to take other people with them and other people who are affiliated with them. There's 52 weeks in a year, I think. 52 weeks, somewhere around in there. 12 months in a year. And when people get on this show, I want people to be able to say, hey, that company, I want people fighting to get on the show, because they know when they get on here, they have made it, and this is just going to platform them up. This is what we want to do for this show. So how can we do that? I need everybody who's listening to this show, if it's 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, it doesn't matter to me. I want you to share this with 5 people. Put it on your Facebook. Share it with 5 people. And starting next week, we're going to talk about the woman's role in generational wealth. Then we're going to talk about what the man's role is in generational wealth. Then we're going to talk about what the kids' role in generational wealth. And then we're going to talk about some of the businesses that we have helped already in dealing with generational wealth. And then I'm going to start bringing back some of the people who have already poured into generational wealth. And we're going to start helping fund these type of organizations. This weekend, I was at an event. Like I said, I was at Facebook Live. I was at Martin University. And I was invited out, and I was excited about going. But as I began to look at it, I became embarrassed. Not at Martin University, because they're doing what they're supposed to do, and it was a great time, great staff, great people, great everything. But what made me embarrassed was this. This is the #1 African American university here in the city of Indianapolis, in the state of Indiana. And we have a lot of tools out here. We have the Pacers, the football team, the Colts. We have a baseball team here. We have the Black Expo, Circle City Classic. We have a lot of tools here. And as I began to listen to what was going on, they were taking up offerings and supporting things of that nature. And me and one of the people who was with me, we began to think, this is the best that we have. This is the best of the best, the cream of the crop. And I didn't see none of those people there, our celebrities that were there. I didn't see the Chamber of Commerce. I saw us taking up offerings of $250 for books. And I said, Cepeda, you have to do better. This is not acceptable. Not out of you and not out of the businesses that you're going to support. We have to be able to give our universities $250,000 per business. And as I was talking to one of my colleagues, she said, hey, you know what that means? We have to raise $2.5 million before taxes. I said, that's right. That's what we must start doing. If we're going to start to leave generational wealth for our people, we have to start thinking bigger than what we are. We have to begin to believe in one another again. We have to begin to stop doubting one another and quit always looking for ways out and how we can cut a corner. We have to believe in one another and give to one another. We had a pastor that was on here last weekend. He was the one who invited me out to Martin University. He's doing everything that he could possibly do. Him and Mr. Rush, Dr. Rush, they had invited me to Martin University. And I said to myself, we need to create wealth for not just us, but for all the institutions that support us. Our kids are going to end up going to Martin University one day. Our adults are going to end up going to Martin University one day. Martin University is a great institution that we should be proud of. But our money is not there. So what we want to do is change that. We want to be a part of it. We want to support African-American businesses in our community. Yes, I said African-American businesses. The Calvary ain't coming, the creek is rose, and the levee has given way. We must begin to support our own. And tonight I'm going to share an article with you that shows you that we should support our own. This is going to be a platform to where it's unapologetically, we got to begin to save ourselves before we can be acceptable to somebody else. I'll say it again. We must begin to be acceptable to ourselves and save ourselves before we can be acceptable to anybody else. Nobody is going to support us if we don't support ourselves. I can't bet on you until you bet on yourself. So tonight, I thank you for supporting me. I thank you for supporting this movement that we're getting ready to start. I thank you in advance for being a part of Generational Wealth Wednesdays. I thank you in advance for betting on yourself, creating a business, and being able to sustain it in a viable way. If you have any ideas on how to create a business, you need to call us. We can help you. Not only can we help you, we can also finance you. We created a tax team that's phenomenal. We have bankers that are phenomenal now. We have a marketing team that is phenomenal. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to create your own business now. Your dreams can become a reality. So without any further ado, I was reading the article today in the Wall Street Journal. And on the front of the Indianapolis Star, which I have in front of me, there was an article that says how fortunes change for an area neighborhood. This is going to be about an article that was in our local paper here in Indianapolis, Indiana, that was talking about an area which we call it a hood. And it's in a gentrification area. And I want you to pay close attention to the words that I'm about ready to read. And I want you to talk about, and I want you to understand that when we say that there's a difference between what goes on in our community and what's going on in somebody else's community, we're going to see that clearly here. As a part of generational wealth, we have to become educated on what that means and what we are up against, because the deck is stacked against us. And it's right here on the front page of a major city here in Indianapolis. It's right on the front page. And they are not ashamed. On the front page of Indianapolis Star today, and you can go look at it, Wednesday, August 11th, it says how fortunes change for an area neighborhood. Sound like a good topic, right? Yep. Sound like a good topic. It has a African-American man on the front page, and we all celebrate that. And we all take handouts, and we're okay with that. But let's look at it. Generational wealth. Okay? Generational wealth 101. The cavalry is not coming. The creek is rolled and the levee is given way. It's up to us to save us. So here's what the article says. In June 2007, the 46201 zip code on the Indianapolis East Side had the highest number of foreclosures in the state and 16th highest in the nation. 46201 in Indianapolis, not a major area, not New York, not California, not Chicago, not Atlanta, not Florida, not Texas, Indianapolis. 46201 had the highest foreclosure rate back in 2007. So that means we were raped, violated. Generational wealth gone. That means that people bought into the American dream, bought a house, and they lost it. Generational wealth gone out of our community back in 2007. This is before the pandemic happened. So in a couple of years later, now the pandemic is here, we've lost lives, but previously we lost our wealth. So tucked inside the zip code, the Inglewood neighborhood had been slowly deteriorating since 1970. The main public school closed in 1979. Once again, our kids. 1, foreclosure. 2, school closings. We had politicians back then. We had pastors back then. We had businesses back then, 1970. I was born in 1968. But this is what happened. Closed in 1979, and the massive factories formerly occupied by P.R. Mallory and RCA sat vacant for decades. So not only did generational wealth, not only did our people not have a job to go to, they lost their fortune, their schools are deteriorated, and there's no opportunities for us. And this is why we must begin to start with the black woman and the black man and our children, because we are the ones who experienced this atrocity. And then it says neighbors fled to the suburbs and business relocated to large plants elsewhere, leaving empty homes and buildings in their wake. This is on the front page of a major of a major paper here in the city of Indianapolis. There was a lot of abandoned and foreclosed houses, said Jim Aldridge, who has attended Inglewood Christian Church his entire life. And then a lot of transit type housing, rental housing, and all kinds of things. So what are they talking about? Let's talk about it. There was more liquor stores in our community, more drugs in our community. What happened? People had given up on their dreams. Why did people give up on their dreams? Generational wealth left. Why did generational wealth left? Because they said foreclosures happened in 2007. What they said leave? Our businesses left, our community, and we wanted to go to the suburbs. This is what they're saying. They printed it, not me printed it, not Matt Capital printed. This is what they printed. It says, but during the economic recession, following the 2008 stock market crash, the Inglewood Community Development Corporation started rebuilding the structure in the area. Wow, that sounds like a good thing. They want to help us out after they stripped all of our wealth. They wanted to rebuild. Sounds good, don't it? Okay, let's talk about it. Aldrich said, building affordable apartment complexes and rental homes. I've never known anybody to get generational wealth from somebody taking their home where they have equity in it and building apartment complexes that you will never own yourself. Talking about generational wealth. Then it says the neighborhood has since stabilized. So they're saying that because they helped us build some apartment complex that we will never own, which at one time we used to own, the community is stabilized now. They didn't say that jobs came back. They didn't say that our school system came back. They said that they built some apartment complexes and it began to stabilize. Okay? The neighborhood has since stabilized, becoming a tight-knit community where people intend to stay long-term. Yep, you're right, because you can never own it. It says where people intend to stay long-term. Neighborhood said Inglewood's mixed economy apartment complexes with about 170 affordable housing units. Affordable housing. Well, let's talk about what affordable housing. I've been a mortgage broker for the past 20 some years. Affordable housing means that you don't have to pay a full month's rent, and most of the time you're in a public housing situation to where it's for low to moderate income. And so most of the people that are in these institutions are trapped. There is no way out. They feel like they're defeated. Their kids are not able to be educated like the kids in the suburbs, and their opportunities for jobs are not as high, and they don't pay as much. And we're going to talk about that because you might be saying to yourself, Cepeda, you know what? You're doing too much. You're overstepping your boundaries, and you shouldn't talk about this. But you know what? I'm going to show you in the paper because it's right here. Talking about generational wealth, and we're going to talk about it today. This is why I didn't bring anybody else on the show, because I wanted to show you that what we're doing is vital to what everybody else is doing around us. If you want to look and see why there's no businesses in our communities, because we haven't created them. If you want to know why there's the school systems are failing in our community, is because we haven't invested in them. And if you want to know why there's liquor stores on our communities instead of thriving businesses, it's because we haven't bet on ourselves. This is what this article is talking about. This is the underlying word of what it's talking about. And this is what it says. The Inglewood mixed economy apartment complex with about 170 total affordable housing units. In 2007, 46201, this same area was the number one foreclosure area in this area. Now, fast forward to 2021, they are saying that they're building affordable housing, a community that has been stripped of generational wealth. We got to talk about this. So as we begin to move further, the article also brings up, I'm just reading from the article, it says, continue to draw new neighbors from engineering people to transitioning out of chronic homelessness. So what type of environment do we have? People who are in chronic homelessness. These people have been stripped of their homes past. Now they're coming back home. I said that our kids got to come back home, right? So what are they coming back home to? Chronic homelessness. It says, typically an empty house is a liability. To the best thing to do is to tear it down and get it off the books. Get it off of whose books? Tear it down. You stole it. Generational wealth is foreclosed on. The banks own it. Now you're saying that you want to tear it down because it's a liability. It's a black eye. It says Aldrich, who is also the development, coordination, rehab, and construction manager. But if you look at its houses as houses and assets, the best thing to do is to fix it up and somebody living in it, which is the kind of what we started to do. So they're saying that not only in 2007, they took the house, which was people's generational wealth. They built an apartment complex there, which we would never own in our community. Now they're saying that this is a place where homeless people used to come, And now they're not homeless no more because we're doing a quote unquote affordable housing. Okay. So now we talked last week about the church and what the church played in. Okay. Bounding Elwich are North Rural and North LaSalle streets to the east and the west, the three major roads spanning north to the south to comprise the neighborhood. East Michigan, it says East Michigan, East New York, and East Washington streets. A single block of North Rural Street houses the Inglewood Community Development Corporation. Once again, what are we talking about? Development Corporation for Inglewood? Oh, okay, cool. Where was this at when they were foreclosing? Where were they at when people were losing their houses in 2007? Where was this corporation at then? Okay, let's see how let's look at how we respond, and then I'm going to show you how Hamilton County, which is a predominantly suburban area, how they respond. Okay. According, it says okay, the commonwealth of one of the apartment complexes, a daycare. Yep, a daycare, a major part in our community, take care of our kids. Yep, we take care of our kids, but a major corporation in our community is the daycare. Okay. And the Eaglewood Christian Church, at the church. Remember, I told you last week, we had a pastor on here, and I asked the question, where does the church play a role in generational wealth? Well, this is what they give us when we're talking about generational wealth. The first place that they want to give us, they start in the church. They get the local pastor, the local politician that represents us, and they don't deal with us. So now they say, hey, we'll create a business in the church, which is a daycare. And they said, this is your generational wealth. Think about what you just said. The church is a place where generational wealth should be. They says in this article, go to the church. We're going to have a business there for you. And it's called a daycare. And that's going to be your generational wealth. This is the underlying word. You might be saying, hold up, Cepeda, that's too much. You're stretching it. Let's read the article. According to the church history, Inglewood Church Christian Church opened in 1895 and attracted more than 1,000 attendees at its height in the 1970s. What? Ain't this where the place where we talked about where the businesses were at and everything was thriving back in 1970? We just talked about it. Then it says what the church too eroded. The church eroded, the business eroded, the daycare eroded. All right? And left the neighborhood church. Church members that stayed in the Inglewood recognized the need to get the train back on the track. Audrey said, instead of preaching a value system of leaving to pursue jobs or success elsewhere, neighborhoods developed a community where people wanted to remain. He said a group of concerned church members formed the Inglewood Community Development Corporation in 1996 with a specific focus on housing and economic development. In 1996, we established a community church organization to talk about generational wealth and economic empowerment. But in 2007, 2008, when the stock market crashed, we lost our houses. And they had a nerve to print this in our paper. And we don't know what they just did. The Calvary ain't coming, the creek have rose, and the levee has given way. So let's look and see, for the purpose of moving forward. You can read this whole article. And it talks about generational wealth. So let's talk about the next article. Same article, same paper, same thing, not on the front page. And what they said, this is in Hamilton County where they said that we moved. HomeCo Affordable Housing Partnership seeks $51 million. HomeCo Affordable Housing Partnership seeks $51 million. What is this about? Okay, let's look at it. Soaring costs means even two $15 an hour wage was not enough. This is what is printed in an Indianapolis Star. Two $15 an hour jobs in our community, mother and father, brother and sister, whoever, two $15 jobs is not enough to live on. Okay? So this is what it says. An affluent Hamilton County is known for good schools, low taxes, safe neighborhoods, big homes. It has a low unemployment rate and a thriving economy, which corporations in high-tech and medical services setting up headquarters and relocating there at brisk pace. Same thing that happened in our community happened in their community, and they're asking for $51 million. $51 million. And they're saying that $15 an hour is not enough to maintain that lifestyle that they want to live. And they're saying not only that the type of companies that are in their community is high-tech companies, medical services companies, and they're headquartered there. Wow. Ain't no liquor stores there. Ain't no homeless people there. Why? Because they're investing into their community. Their kids have the best school systems there. That's why it's so important that we begin to boot up ourselves and talk economics and money in our community. They're not talking about their churches controlling their economics. They're talking about their businesses controlling their economics. It's later for that. It's time for us. The Calvary is not coming. The creek is rolling and the levee is giving way. It's up to us to save us. So what should we do? Let's read the second thing, and I'm ready to give us some solutions. But with the prosperity, home prices and rents have risen so much that lower or even moderate income residents are finding it impossible to live there. City officials and housing organizations say, as a result, more than 1 in 5 working households, about 20,000 in the Hamilton County who earn income above the poverty line still struggle from paycheck to paycheck, according to the Noblesville Housing Authority. They didn't lose their home. They're just struggling with making their payments. They didn't lose their homes. They didn't have foreclosures. We're not a pink elephant. But what are they doing to save their homes? They have high-paying jobs there. They're betting on themselves, betting on their community, betting on one another, and they're bringing businesses into their community. And they can't do it at $15 an hour, but they got a 51. They're asking the government for 51 million. 51. And then it says a newly formed partnership. Oh, partnership. Okay, let's look at what their partnership does compared to what our partnership does. It's in our local paper. It says a newly formed partnership of affordable housing advocates warning of looming crisis, plans to press lawmakers and others for at least $51 million in investments over a 5-year to bring more apartments and house within reach of working class residents. Let's stop right there and let's close the chapter. What are they doing? They're saying we're going to create opportunities, businesses, not churches, businesses in our community, because if you create businesses in our community, the school system, because they'll pay taxes, the school system will correct itself. If you create generational wealth for your kids, the kids will create jobs for the future generations. We'll have medical facilities. We'll have better hospitals. We'll have bigger things that we can afford. But we have to begin to take care of ourselves. This article, Hamco Affordable Housing, same thing that we have in our community, is doing the same thing in Hamilton County. But the difference was they asked for 51 million. We asked for a church grant. They're not trying to build up the church. They're saying we want to build businesses in our community. Not at $15 an hour, because that's not enough. We need to have these businesses at $30 an hour, $25 an hour. What is that? What are you talking about, Cepeda? Why are you going off on this rant? We're talking about generational wealth. We're talking about giving our kids an opportunity to compete at a very high level. We can't sit around. The cavalry is not coming. The creek is rose and the levee is giving way. They're telling us this is it. Come in and be a part of generational wealth Wednesday. They're saying we got to create our own businesses. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, we have to begin to create our own businesses. We have to begin to create our own opportunities. We have to invest into ourselves, just like they are doing. This is not abnormal. This is normal. When I look in the mirror, I need to see you. I need to see you betting on yourself. It's important. They asked for 51 million. We need to ask for 51 million. They're saying that they want to create jobs in their community. We want to create jobs in our community. We don't want to have a church with a daycare. That's important, but that's not it. We have to create an avenue to where our businesses can support us. This is what they're doing. Then I'm going to final with this article. At the end of this article, and it talked about this, and I thought it was very, 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 very straight to the point. And in the last chapter, it says the coalition hopes to coordinate with Fishers and Noblesville, which are doing their own housing assessment and have acknowledged the lack of affordable housing as a problem. The coalition hopes to work with the cities and encourage public-private partnerships to develop affordable homes, not apartments, affordable homes. In other words, what are they saying? They're saying that they're going to create generational wealth for their people. Homes, not apartments. It says it will seek a consultant for the study in September and hopes to formulate a strategy by April 2022. This is in the Indianapolis Star. And I'm not going to be able to get to the Wall Street Journal, but there's an article in the Wall Street Journal saying the exact same thing on a national level. So what are we talking about here? We see that there's a difference in the way we respond to generational wealth and tragedy and the way other people respond to generational wealth and tragedy. So what we have to do is understand that it's not by coincidence and accident. Our people are going to jail. Our black men are going to jail at an alarming rate. Our young women are single parents at an alarming rate. Our children are going to underperforming schools, and we have to almost make it seem like it's a performing school at an alarming rate. We ask for grants through our churches. They ask for grants through their business. So what we're going to do, we're going to create an atmosphere. We're going to create companies that support what we're doing. We're going to create companies that's going to file their taxes. We're going to create companies that is going to be profitable, and we're going to create our own narrative through Facebook. And we're going to create our own narrative through this movement, through Mad Capital Investment Group. We're not just going to do it through Mad Capital. Every business that come on here, we're going to promote them. We're going to encourage them to be great. We're going to encourage them for you to utilize them. So when you see a company on this show, we want you to promote it. We want you to find out where they're located. Go by and support it. Okay, that's how we're going to create generational wealth. Let's stop talking about the problem and let's start giving solutions to the problem. So what the first thing we're going to do, okay, we're going to put down, I'm going to put down, you see the businesses that we have established on our show. I'm going to be promoting them. If you have came on our show, or if you want to come on our show, if you want to start a business, I'm going to feature you on our show. I only have so many slots, but I'm going to do my best to feature you on our show because this is how we're going to create generational wealth. The first one we're going to talk about is Sharita Lacey. Sharita Lacey with homes, with healthy solutions, healthy eating. We need to create a store that deals with healthy living. Some people are vegan. There's a big market for that. Some people, I used to be diabetic, 200 and some pounds. Now I'm down to 100 and some pounds. We need to create that. Now we're going to be promoting Megan Lynch. Megan Lynch at Extreme Finance. We're going to promote that. I think Megan is going to be having a conference. We're going to be having a conference in a couple weeks. I want everybody to come out to it. It's free. This lady has made $100,000 per month. It's free. You can come out and learn how to become a Forex trader or a Bitcoin trader. You can come out and learn that stuff. She does network marketing. You can come out and learn it. Come out. It's free. I'm going to post it on my website. I'm going to post it on my Facebook page. Come out and support it. You cannot lose. Bet on yourself. We're going to talk to Jennifer Hudson. Jennifer came out and told us how to do estate planning. If you got an elder in your family, call Jennifer. Please. I'm encouraging you to use the businesses that has been on this show. We're going to keep bringing them back. Jennifer, I got her number, telephone number right down here in front of us. Okay. Then we have Marquita Berry. Marquita Berry, Supreme Tax Services. She is the cornerstone of our community. If you do not file your taxes, you cannot get a loan. If you do not file your taxes, you cannot do certain things in the banking industry. If you have a business, you need to put your money in the bank so that the bank can verify it, so you can get lines of credit, so you can compete on a national scale. Because guess what happens? When you start building homes and apartments in our community, you can employ our own people. This is what we're trying to do here. What does that mean? If you got a $2 million line of credit, then you can build apartments and homes in our community and employ our people. You don't have to ask. We don't have to ask nobody for no grant. We don't have to do it. We can start to ask our own business that we didn't build it up ourselves. The reason why we can't go ask for $51 million is because we're not worth $51 million. We haven't created $51 million in businesses in our own community. And you might be saying, Cepeda, you know what? I know some businesses worth $51 million. Where were they at when Martin University was taking up their offering? Oh, I know somebody that gave $20,000, $30,000. Okay, that's fine. But tell me this. Where's the endowment that supports $8 to $10 million? Cepeda hasn't done it, and I haven't seen that many people do it. So what we're going to do, we're going to create that opportunity. And if you are already doing it, great. We're going to catch you, and we're going to support what you're doing, and we're going to get behind what you're doing. So if they're getting 10 million, we're going to give 20 million. Let's try that. And then we want to give 51 million like they just did. That's creating generational wealth. We want to begin to support the businesses in our community. There is a lot of talent in our community that we don't take advantage of. And the only thing I want to do is shed light on the people who are doing it. And if you have a desire to impact your community, this is your platform. This is your platform. This is your opportunity for you to make a difference. It's up to you to save you. The Calvary ain't coming. The creek and rose and the levee is giving way. It's up to you to save you. You can create that opportunity. It's all on you. This article in the paper motivated me. And as you can see, I'm pretty passionate about helping out our own people. I have other people in my family, red, white, black, green, orange, purple. I have people in my family all across the board. Well, we are living in a class system now to where we have the have and the have-nots. And the have-nots want to keep their wealth. And I don't blame them because I want to keep mine. But not at the expense of a whole group of people who had nothing to do with what just transpired. A lot of people died of the COVID virus that didn't have to. I believe that it was economically impacted. I believe that there was disproportionate enough people who did not have to die because they didn't have the proper medical care, because they didn't have the proper health care. But more so than that, those are because people didn't have the proper economic care. I want to create that opportunity where we don't have to do that no more. It's later for us to be entertained. We have to begin to do something about what's going on in our community. It's no longer acceptable for you to sit around and talk about it. It's no longer, if you have a degree, if you have a business, if you make over $100,000, great. But I want you to get in the game. We are waiting on you to get in the game. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we as a group, as a community, as a Facebook Live Generational Wealth talk about issues that are important. That's why next week is so important, because I believe that the foundation of generational wealth starts with our family. And the foundation of our family starts with the male and the female. First the female, then the male. Not in that order, but we're not going to debate that. That's not what this platform is for. I'm just doing the females first and the males second. And then we're going to do the kids. We're going to talk about what we can do to create generational wealth, money, hard cash in our community. Then after we do that, then we're going to get to the ability of finding where is the money, how do we get it, how do we maintain it, how do we deport it, and where should we put it in our community. Just like they did. Article in the Indianapolis Star today, August the 11th, talked about $51 million in our community, in their community, not ours. So what we're going to do is talk about it. And we're going to lay the foundation. We're going to bring on businesses. You're going to see us on the radio. You're going to see us on TV. You're going to see us in a lot of places. You're going to see us in your community. If you're not here in Indianapolis, we're coming to your community soon. And we want to be able to come in and be a part. Now, I know this was a little bit longer today, but I thought it was important that we talk about what's going on in our community. And it's not a hoax. This is a planned, scripted plan to create generational wealth in certain communities and create poverty in others. They're talking about building homes in one community, and they're talking about building apartment complexes in another. They're talking about establishing medical facilities and jobs over $15 an hour in one community, and they're talking about homelessness in another community. No different, just land. But who are the people that's on that land? You are the reason why we're here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to do something about it. I just ask that you do one and one thing only. And I'll do the rest. You just get 5 people to get on the show, and I promise you there'll be change. Don't ask no questions. Get on the show. Support the businesses. We're going to impact our community one business at a time. One business at a time. If you want to create a business, inbox me, give us a call, 317-847-2810. 317-847-2810. Give us a call. Mad Capital Investment Group. We will help you with your taxes. We will make sure that you got the proper economics. We'll make sure that you got properly set up properly. We're going to help. And we're not going to be apologetic about it. People are going to come and become millionaires through this company. So get ready. The cavalry ain't coming. The creek done rose and the levee is giving way. I always end with that, and I always will tell you, bet on yourself, because ain't nobody going to bet on you until you do bet on yourself. Keep following me on Facebook Live. Once again, I thank you for letting me come into your home, be a part of what you're doing. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to you being great. I look forward to you betting on yourself. Till next Wednesday, when we're going to have women are very important in generational wealth next week. You don't want to miss it. I'm going to have a special guest, which is a celebrity, next week. She has already committed. You can come in and be blessed next week. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Tell somebody about it.